Hello viewers, welcome to our latest episode of Sunday Wars, our video series on defense and strategic affairs. Today we have two very esteemed guests on our panel to discuss on a subject which is absolutely hot and topical. We have Major General Yash Mor, retired from India, and Air Commodore Ishfaq Ilahi Choudhury, retired from Bangladesh. These two gentlemen would take us through the geostrategic impact of two very important events which has happened in the subcontinent in the last 1 week or so. One is Prime Minister Modi's visit to Bangladesh, and the other is the recent tragedy and volatile situation which we have obtaining across our borders in Myanmar. We would like to know from these gentlemen what could be the possible geostrategic impacts on Bangladesh and India individually and on our relationship, on Indo-Bangladesh relationship. Over to General Yash Mor and Air Commodore Ilahi.
Thank you, Sandeep. It's always a pleasure to come on your program, and also an absolute honor to be again on the same platform as Air Commodore Ishfaq Ilahi Choudhury, whom I hold in very high esteem. We have seen him many years ago as a directing staff in the NDC. And then I've been following his deliberations on the social media. I think one of the most sane and sober voices from across, in Bangladesh. So it's an absolute honor, and look forward to this program.
So can we now begin the discussion on the agenda, sir, as we summarized at the very beginning?
Okay, let me say that, as you said, that Bangladesh. See, Bangladesh holds a very important geostrategic position in straddling between South and Southeast Asia. And it is if you look at the map, India wants to move to the east, look its policy, and wants to move to Southeast Asia, it will need Bangladesh. Bangladesh landmass, Bangladesh rivers, waters, roads, railways, India will need. If India needs to boost up its economy in the northeast, again India needs Bangladesh. Bangladesh is although surrounded by India on three sides, but Bangladesh also almost dissects northeastern states. You see, with the thin corridor between what is known as Siliguri corridor or Chicken State. Bangladesh is also sitting very close to Nepal, very close to Bhutan. And China, also when we think of China, we think of Kunming and things like that. But China is just about 100 kilometers as the crow flies from the northern edge of Bangladesh to Nathula. You see that border in the Sikkim, China border. Actually, it's a very strategically, a very important area. And you see, if we see that historically speaking, India has always been invaded from northwest, through the Khyber Pass, through the Balochistan and through Afghanistan. Except in the Second World War, the British, before that British came from the sea, but in the Second World War, the Japanese came from the east. And you see, they were held on the Assamese border of Manipur and Nagaland, but then Bengal was almost ready to, there was a crisis that Bengal might fall. The Japanese, if they cross that, there is nothing to stop them. So that means Bangladesh today has a very important geostrategic position, and it is all the more important now because of the Sino-Chinese rivalry, because of the Western powers who are also Bay of Bengal is getting increasingly important, and all this communication. So coming back to our Modi's visit. First of all, let me say that we have a very long, historic ties with India, going back to, of course, pre-1947. But then after 71, there were ups and downs, and especially downs after the killing of Commodore Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. There was a period of military rule and semi-military, autocratic rules where India body was played as a because these governments had no popular backing, so they raised this India, India Big Brother is coming to grab you off and things like that. But over the last 10-15 years, we have seen that by growing relationship between the two countries, only it can benefit all of us. And during both the last Congress rule and also during Modi's BJP rule, we have seen a continuously upward movement of Bangladesh-India relations. And in this, for example, we have, first of all, we saw the settlement of the enclaves. These enclaves were there since 1947 could not be solved, and that has been solved, and to the mutual benefit of both the countries and millions of people who are affected. And then we have the improving connectivity. When we saw connectivity, I always say that we are reconnecting Bangladesh and India as it was in 1947. Many of the railway lines and roads communications they were cut off, but those are being now restored. And Bangladesh today is sitting in a position where not only with India, but we shall have communication with Nepal and Bhutan, and already the things are moving in that direction. Now, coming back to the Modi's visit, although it was more of a ceremonial, you see, he came here on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh independence. So basically, it was a ceremonial visit, but so was the visit by other head of state. But then, within that period that he was here in about 48 hours, less than 48 hours, we had a number of MOUs signed. For example, we had the new railway direct communication from Dhaka to northern Bengal, Jalpaiguri, which will open up, you see, again the traffic from northern West Bengal to down to our port cities around. We also had the opening of, before Modi came, we had the opening of a bridge between Tripura and road bridge between Tripura and Chittagong, which reduced the distance of Agartala to a major port, Chattogram, by almost just 100 kilometers. So these are the great news. Also, we have a road and railway link coming up between Agartala and our Bangladesh, and also restoring the, I think about in India or so, where we have direct communication restored between Sylhet and Kulaura and Lapu, which is a border outpost in Karimganj. These railway lines are already there, but they were disused or disconnected and all. So more and more goods and traffic will be flowing, and this is good for Bangladesh because our ports we are setting up a major deep sea port in south of Chittagong, Mathabari, and we need traffic for that. That traffic can come from the Indian northeast. Also, we have another port coming up in Paira, which is near Barisan. That will also attract traffic from Nepal and Bhutan. And overall, all in all, and this is going in a big way, I would say. But what was some of the areas which were, still bothering Bangladesh is one is the border killing. They, of course, we both realize that these are smugglers and all who are active in both sides. And a lot of people are involved who are criminals on both sides. But the death cost is occurrence become a publicity, you see, for those who do not want Indo-Bangladesh relations, good Indo-Bangladesh relations. So, Prime Minister Modi said we are going to do something, but these assurances we have in the past also. About Tista, we still do not have a deal, and we see again he said that we are going to work it out, and we are also going to work out for other rivers and all. It's true, but this is, you see, if there is time, I will explain to you this what is our problem with the Tista. But overall, then these problems, there is an I would say a real I would say a positive note. People of Bangladesh and India have seen this visit as a positive note, and will continue to have it in the future. I'll rest for the time being here and let Yash Mor take over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You've given a great geographical snapshot in a short while. I look at Bangladesh and the Northeast as one region, because till 1947 this was one region. And in fact, I would like to go back in history to 1757 Battle of Plassey. And Bengal has always been, sir, a region which produced the highest GDP, sir, in the world, in fact, at one point of time. It was always resource rich. It always produced great saints, philosophers, writers, musicians, very talented people came from Bengal, sir. So I look at Bengal. That is what I've written also on the day the Prime Minister was there. I wrote an article on how we look at Bengal as a region which was always connected, and it's the same DNA, same language, same dress, same food, everything is same. So I take these borders as artificial obstructs created because of certain policies of the British initially. Partition of Bengal was a huge folly. So much has been written about it. They again joined it together in 1911. And then movement of the capital from Calcutta to Delhi in I think sometime in the 30s. That was because the British could not control. Their kingdom was expanding towards the Northwest Frontier Agency, towards Afghanistan. So they wanted to that region. Northern areas were becoming popular. So Bengal has always been Indian subcontinent, erstwhile Indian subcontinent. So there's no reason why this region should live in abject poverty for years and years. Last 70 years has been actually a lot of poverty both sides of the border, and people have suffered. Initially, Bangladesh it's been one of the tragic histories of this country, and good it has got up from ashes. And this kind of a turnaround in 50 years is really remarkable, and everybody needs to be congratulated in Bangladesh. This kind of turnaround is really fabulous. And then, of course, the killing of the Bangabandhu was very, very tragic event. So young a country, within 4 years, you kill father of a nation in such a brutal manner. And then certain policies and, the military and the radical element joined hands. And India somehow, the leadership did not, see that this is our backyard, our own people. And we had to, but that is history. But good sense has prevailed in last 2 decades. We have seen tremendous progress in various sectors. Connectivity is improving. Trade and commerce is booming. Tourism is booming. The medical tourism is again booming. So, I see people to people, there is absolutely no animosity. And like 2 neighbors, there would always be some issues of concern, which of course will get solved. We've come a long way. We've come really a long way solving the issue of the enclaves, the Teen Biga corridor, the connectivity. 6 out of 4 railway connections of pre-65 are open today. 2 more are opening shortly. And there are 3 more which are on the anvil. Then waterways were the lifeline of Bengal trade and commerce with the rest of the world, And Bay of Bengal, the kind of exports they did in the 18th and 19th century, it needs to get back to that. And Bay of Bengal has only one shore, I keep saying. Rivers have 2 shores. No, do kinare hain nadi ke, lekin samundra ka ek hi kinara hai. And you can't divorce people from this geography of this region. So I feel there is tremendous scope, and this visit is one of the historical visits. The Prime Minister to go first time in a year out because of the COVID pandemic, and he chooses to go to visit Bangladesh. And nobody, whoever is the Prime Minister, had to be there to be participating in this event of 50 years of liberation and 100 years of Bangabandhu. So I see only positive coming out of this visit, and there's so much to learn from this particular event.
General Moore, I have a question for you here. You see, both of you have described in general terms the advantages to both countries, geostrategic advantages. But as an army person, as a senior army person, and an army man who has been to Bangladesh when you had done your stint at the Staff College, Military Staff College, you know that place well. Tell me, what are the specific military advantages, strategic advantages which have accrued to India? Just to put things in perspective, after the Bangladesh liberation, and due to having a friendly government on the eastern frontier, what has been the strategic leverage India has enjoyed in the last 50 years now?
See, the biggest advantage is when East Pakistan became Bangladesh, we were not holding, there was no now, we were not holding these borders like we hold the western borders. So large amount of our troops, which would otherwise be holding on to a very, very rugged terrain through waterways, holding a border with another nation is almost non-existence. We just have border guards and basically checking smuggling and that kind of peacetime bordering. So that is not taken. The other thing is the amount of synergy between the two nations. In fact, for last, I think, 3 decades between the armies, I think this is one country where we have very serious, army to army staff talks, Air Force to Air Force, Navy to Navy. And every second year, either naval chief, the army chief or air chief is visiting Bangladesh and vice versa. This is one nation where the army chief has been invited to as a reviewing officer in the Bangladesh military academy, and other way around. We had the Bangladesh army chief coming to review the Indian military academy parade. It's a great honor. This kind of honor is bestowed on very, very close friends and close armies. Then we do a lot of exercises together. We cooperate in the UN together. And we also cooperate in disaster management, humanitarian aid, adventure activities, sports, equipment maintenance. And there's so much of scope. Military to military, the scope is endless. Defense diplomacy actually can lead the way for betterment of relations between Bangladesh and India.
I would just like to elaborate a little more here, General Moore, because there are such things you in this being in the strategic community, Commodore Ilahi, etc., and other military historians and journalists would know. But common people, a person who is 50-year-old, an Indian who is 50-year-old today, who was born in 71, he hasn't seen those days. You see, so what you are saying, he would need to visualize what it was to have a Pakistani threat on the eastern borders, when in the Pakistani Sundarbans 3 military exercises which they had done, there was a plan to come to Farakka from the Bogra salient and cut off Farakka. So the strategic impact of that is to give days and nights of concern to Indian military planners in those days. So I don't think Indians are really aware of what difference it has made, and what the visions it has released from Eastern Command, from 33 Corps, let's say, and Bengal sub area, and from 4th Corps, and the impact that has had on Indian redeployment of the Chinese border, for example, and counterinsurgency operations in the northeast. This is something that we would like to dwell on a little more.
No, this is huge, absolutely. And today, Eastern Command or 4 Corps you spoke of, they don't look towards Bangladesh. We look towards them as a neighbor, but not as an inimical neighbor. Though in military exercises in Mirpur, they have to create an enemy, and that enemy is India. But that is a friendly enemy, just because students have to be exercised in certain war games and certain planning parameters.
That's a fictitious map.
Yes, fictitious, absolutely fictitious. So, but we just don't look that way. In fact, there is more cooperation on both the sides, and a lot of issues on the border get resolved. However, what needs to be, I think what I feel is the narrative on both sides, like narrative of what is happening on the border, what comes out in the Bangladeshi newspapers, and the narrative and discourse which is generated from India about Bangladesh or things like that. That, if it is toned, that is actually changing the perception of the people and making they don't realize that what is a huge advantage we have of having a eastern neighbor in Bangladesh instead of East Pakistan.
Yash Mor, I want to interject here at this stage. Can I?
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
Okay. Unfortunately, since 1975 till about, say, 2000, turn of the century, a whole generation of Bangladeshis grew up. Our textbooks were changed, our history was changed to show that, we could not say it is Pakistan army which has done the killing. It was another army, means an invading army. Which army is that? You can't name, you see. And it was between the invading army and the Mukti Bahini. And the Indian role was totally sort of sidetracked. But now, you see, we are recognizing, we are both on 16th December and 26th March, we are calling the veterans. The veterans are our side, from our side, they are going to India, from their side, they are coming to Bangladesh. And this time, for the first time, we are going to have a memorial erected in a place called Ashwat, which is very close to the Tripura border. There was a huge fight there. And Bihar regiment suffered pretty high casualty there, okay, just on the bank of the river Meghna, and which prompted Indians to bypass that position and head drop behind. So we are going to recognize this and let these future generations recognize that this was a joint war. So my appeal to the Indian crowd is this, that do not call it Indo-Pak War of 1971. You call it Bangladesh War of 1971. Because my argument is always, if there was no Bangladesh issue, there was no need for India or Indira Gandhi to go to war against Pakistan in 71. Both Pakistan and India was in dire economic state, especially in India. The eastern part of the India, West Bengal, Bihar, they were suffering with food shortage. There was Maoist insurgencies and the Naxalites. So India was not in a position to go for war. The only reason they went for war was Bangladesh. The Bangladesh issue. So, and I always argue that even although there was an article other day that I think it was in one of your articles, you said that India had known everything that Raw had watched it out and the war is coming. Because I always argue that if Indira Gandhi knew that the war is coming on the afternoon of 3rd December, she wouldn't be in Calcutta addressing a huge gathering. She would be in Delhi. You see, when she was addressing the gathering, she got this note and then she, stopped her meeting and she said, I'm sorry, I'm going. Caught the aircraft, came to Delhi, called the meeting, and then it was well past midnight when the first Indian aircraft reacted and came to Bangladesh or on the Western Front. So this is she wanted, like any other politician, any politician would like to avoid a war if possible. Avoid a war if possible, but if the war is trustful, then of course you fight it. So she was in the same. If we have time, can I make a small anecdote?
Sure.
Okay. We still haven't gone to Myanmar, but let me say that Prime Minister Modi visited two temples, right? One temple was in Satkhira, which is Jasoreshwari temple. There is an idol which is called Jasoreshwari. Jasoreshwari means the god of Jasor. God of Jasor, which is just 20 miles off from the border, Nadia border. Now, very interestingly, this Jasoreshwari is also in Jaipur, in Amber Palace. In Amber Palace, Mansingh, in the Mansingh's palace, if you visit, there is a temple where all the Hindus, they worship there and that is known as Jasoreshwari. People probably don't know, and there is a story that when he was campaigning for during this Emperor Akbar's time, he came to Jasor and he found this game in which he thought that gave him the good luck of winning against all these landlords in Bengal. So it's interesting that one Jasoreshwari here, and there is another Jasoreshwari lying in Jaipur.
The narrative that we send out from here and the narrative that is there in Bangladesh, there is so much of disharmony in that. I realized that when I was there for 1 year in Dhaka, and again I went to Dhaka after a few more years. So this is what, as good friends, good neighborly, this thing, the correct narrative must go to the people. Then they understand the significance of what we have gained by having Bangladesh as our such a close neighbor.
On these issues of arms, let me tell you that these are very unfortunate because this was a deep state war. See, I don't know even if the BNP hierarchy, all of them had knowledge of this. But we are in a very dangerous game. Why are we supporting? We are supporting, when you see the UNFA and Bodos, they are the ones who are killing very poor, innocent Bengali settlers in the Brahmaputra basin. And we are providing weapons to them. This is totally counterproductive. But, and it was, when it came to a big surprise for all of us, that we are, some of our officers and the men, and maybe some other politicians, political elements who have got involved in this. This was very dangerous because we had no mandate. Government has no mandate, no electoral yet, and to do this sort of thing, you see. But thankfully, we are out of this whole rut, you see, and Prime Minister Hasina has again saying, and in fact, that should be our state policy, that we are not going to encourage any insurgency across the border, come what may, you see, because this is going to be counterproductive. So this is one, I think, a very positive thing Bangladesh is happening for the last 1 decade in Bangladesh. And I was about to tell you a second, his visit to the other temple, that is Mathua tribe, is the scheduled caste of Bengal. These people are, there are some, because West Bengal Chief Minister said that Modi is playing politics, going to that temple and, the election is coming. It might influence at least 7 seats of West Bengal. But the thing is that who are these people? You know that these are the scheduled caste. They voted with Shere Bangla Ekek and formed the government, Muslim government, which ultimately led to the creation of Pakistan. And Jogendranath Mandal, because he had voted for Muslim, along with Muslim League against the conference, he was made the first law minister of Pakistan in 1947. And being the law minister of Pakistan, he was the chairman of the constitution making body of Pakistan. But unfortunately, after Jinnah died in 48, the power shifted to, the Nawabzadas and all, Liaquat Ali Khan and others, elites, and they kicked him out and he went back to India and he died there. So this community is a scheduled caste. Now you might ask, why did they vote? Because there was Shere Bangla came with the one thing. If I am voted to power, I am going to eliminate the zamindari system and the land will go to the one who owns the plow, the land will belong to you. And that is what attracted, irrespective of Congress or anything they voted. So, going back to them, many Bengalis also don't know, and I'm sure my Indian audience also don't know the story, that how it all happened. Thank you.
Sir, coming to the Myanmar aspect, we have discussed the Indo-Bangladesh aspect. How does this Myanmar fiasco, how does it affect both of the countries? I would pose this question to both you and
I was very disappointed. Frankly speaking, I am very disappointed with both the prime ministers and both our governments have not come out strongly against the atrocities that is happening. You see, after all, Bangladesh was born out of a genocide. Now, our foreign minister said, of course, that we already had a genocide on the Rohingyas, and at that time, Aung San Suu Kyi went to the World Tribunal and said that, supported the military government. Now she's being paid back. Well, that's that. But the thing is that I think for ordinary Myanmar, the way they are being killed by their own army, both our country and India should have, at least during this visit, should have made some mention. That's what personally I feel, that should have made some mention about the ongoing genocide in Myanmar. Because we need to support the truth and the peace and democracy. And we too are a democratic country, and we hope someday Myanmar will become a true democratic country, not dictated by the military, and that is the reason, that is what the solution of all these ethnic problems, will be done. Because not only Rohingya, there are many others who are suffering. There are people who are going to migrating to India. There are people who are running away to Thailand, you see, because of this army's onslaught.
Dear Commodore Ilahi, I would like to point out the real danger and present danger and future danger which Bangladesh faces from, of disaffected elements in Myanmar who today might become hostile to the Bangladesh regime, and they live near the border areas. In northern Myanmar and northeastern Myanmar, you have the Kachin, you have the Chin Hills over there. You have all kind of outfits. We are seeing it from the British times. If they take it into their head that Bangladesh government is hand in glove with the Myanmar junta, will it become a very safe proposition for the Bangladesh government to have these elements on the border?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because first of all, they are, if you see the map, they are far away. They are more contiguous to Manipur, Nagaland, and the Chinese border. You see, but across us are the Rohingyas and the others are the some Arakan rebels. So Bangladesh is not in hand in love with the Jantas. What I am saying, we have at this time we have no communication, virtually no communication with them. We want to improve our relationship, but we also want a democratic government who reflects the will of the people. But what I was saying that during this visit we could have in our joint statement we could have condemned what's going on there. But I'm sure they realize because we are you see now 5,000 people have gone to Thailand and that's it, 1 news. 1 million people, more than almost double the population of Bhutan, are now settled in various refugee camps in Bangladesh, and we are paying for all these things. You see, so I don't think there is any other tribes or this anything pose a threat to Bangladesh, but the Rohingyas issue not be solved. Yes.
General Moore, I will like to bring you in here, sir. You see, like I was telling Commodore Ilahi, I have been keeping track of the Myanmar situation. All the tribes and the guerrillas, they are coming under one roof now, and they are pledging support to the anti-military junta. Myanmar is mainstream. You see, all this is historically. The Myanmar is mainstream. The Buddhist mainstream was against these Fisiparas elements within force, as they used to call them, this tribal militia. Now, after a long time, after decades, I mean, I don't know last when it happened, they are coming under one roof, sir. Once that happens, once there is interoperability between the border tribes, be they operating in the Indian northeastern border, China border, or Bangladesh border, Rakhine, Arakan border, or Mizoram, Nagaland border, I see a threat to both India and Bangladesh. If it goes on for very long time, and if there is a lot more bloodshed, that will be very difficult to live down for both countries. General Moore, your take, sir.
Yeah, Sandeep, I agree with you. You see, of course, India's story is totally different. We are a democratic country from 1947, and this kind of a democracy is rare in a third world country. But Bangladesh had to undergo so much of military rule and required really very sagacious political leadership to control the military and put them into the barracks. Now, at least we know that Bangladesh is now a democratic country for good, and there's no question of any military regime or a coup taking place. But in case of Myanmar, somehow, unfortunately, without having any threats, they have such a huge military, presence in every institution of their country. They brought in Aung San Suu Kyi back to power. Again, she came to power only because the military agreed to give her power, and now military has taken back the power, and she's in prison. And this kind of a brutal repression of people by their own military in modern times in 21st century is really horrifying. And I agree we should have been very candid about it. Both the countries and also China and other powers must put the condemn this kind of an action. And somehow we have to work. I know we really, if we leave the military now and don't talk to them, then whom do we talk to? That kind of a question is always there with the government. But I'm happy that the people all getting under one umbrella, whether they are disparate groups, there are other different kind of, semi-militant kind of groups, but local citizens have taken on this mantle of opposing the military junta, which is a positive thing. But somehow we must talk to the military to step down as soon as possible and conduct elections, and only then I think this region can develop, because if Myanmar continues like this and refugees flow into Bangladesh and into our area, then all this connectivity to Southeast Asia, BBIN, BIMSTEC all come to naught. Because Myanmar also holds a very geostrategic location for India and Bangladesh both.
You see, if you look at the map, you see that 4-lane highway. We have constructed 4-lane highway, and very soon there will be an elevated expressway all the way going to Gundum, which is just north of Cox's, but it stops abruptly at the border. Beyond the border, we are ready. India and Bangladesh saying that we can provide assistance. That the road will go and all the way to Southeast Asia, to Myanmar and China and all that. So all these dreams can come true if there is stability in Myanmar, if there is democratic setup in Myanmar, and they will be the one who will be the beneficiary, because the investment can flow in any way. You see, because just now you see in Bangladesh, because of the democracy, we have, the other day I was in another seminar, I was telling that right now there are 4 major power stations are being constructed in Bangladesh. One in Rampal near Sundarban, 1.5 gigawatt is Indians are making it. In Paira, 1.4 gigawatt, it is the Chinese are making it. In another 1.5 in Matarwadi, the Japanese are making it. And the biggest one, 2.54 gigawatt, is in Pabna, Rupur, that is the nuclear power plant. And that is the Russians are making it. And the Indians are there providing the security, safety, nuclear safety and all. So I was suggesting that somebody say, oh, you are too much Chinese. I said, okay, now you come we are already planning for another nuclear power plant in Barisal. And now the Indians can definitely bid for that, So once you have stability in the country, people will be there with the money and your investment is not a problem.
So all that is that's very gratifying, sir. General Moore, coming back to the security aspect, I would like to call out the elephant in the room, which is not very pleasant at all. The prospects of democracy in Myanmar. What do we have in Myanmar's history after the Second World War, which gives us any hope at all? Not just of democracy, of a humane government and equitable treatment to minorities. If you look at Myanmar's history, do we have any hope? Number one. Number two, again, sir, I'm very, very concerned about the border areas of Bangladesh and India. Those are unruly areas. The writ of the military runs conditionally. The terrain is inhospitable and difficult. If all the regions could get together, and I must remind the gentlemen that for the last 70 years, no government has been able to tame these rebel groups. No government. They have survived generation, like the Basque rebels who came. And if now they get a support from Myanmar's mainstream, from the Buddhist majority, I really don't know which way this will go and what impact that will have on India and Bangladesh security. Both of us have concerns in that border. General Moore, sir.
I know it's a catch-22 situation. If you don't talk to the military, they go back to what they were when it was a Iron Curtain country with no access, and they're happy ruling the nation without any assistance or talking to their neighbor, India or Bangladesh. But at the same time, if you get after them and you push them out and put this thing, a very difficult democracy can come into Myanmar without the support of the military. So therefore, it's a catch-22 situation, difficult situation, but nevertheless, we have to, especially India has a major role to play to bring democracy there. We have major stake. We have to open this region, and maximum people are coming into our area, and our area itself needs so much of development. And then if this insurgent groups come into India and, there is a kind of revival of any kind of a militancy, we have achieved peace in Northeast after a lot of bloodshed and sacrifice. We can't afford another upheaval in that area. So we have to have our, antennas up, talk to the military, but still try and bring back whatever it may take, democratically elected government.
I was smiling because I was about to ask Air Commodore Ilahi if ever they played a war game, maybe it would not have been a serious war game, a fictitious war game. about the Myanmarese Arakanese border, sir?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure. You see, because of the situation, we have raised a new division in the Cox's. We have set up a new airbase there. We have positioned our fighter aircraft there. We have positioned. These are all. I'm saying that these are all known. You see, we have a new radar station there. We have militarily. We are much more. You see, first of all, the area you cannot have a very big military campaign there. The area very narrow. Space is very narrow and at the best is a one division. I mean, Yash Mor will be able to say it better, but at the most a one division plus minus. So the rest are all highly deep jungles and military. So we have enough strength there to stall any military adventurism by the Myanmaris there. The Navy is also there. But again, going back to history, unfortunate for the Myanmarese people, Burmese people, because when the British left, it was the union of the state of Burma. It was just a federation. The British government, the Aung San Suu Kyi's father, Aung San, who was the main, the freedom fighter, with them the British had agreed that all the ethnic minorities will be given their own states. It will be a confederation of states. And that is what was planned. And that is how the Myanmar could have developed into a very modern democratic state. But the centralized, just like India cannot survive with a highly centralized administration. It has to be a decentralized states, okay? It is like the union of states. Same thing with Myanmar tomorrow, because of the insurgency or whatever it is, and the pressure from the outside world and the realization that we cannot just remain cut off. And it develops into the rights to their local people. Rohingyas here, the Rakhines over there, the Chins over there, the Chinese over there, the Buddhists also. And another thing is the Buddhists. They all give every military government exploit religion to their own end. And that is what the Myanmarese government has done, bringing in the Buddhism, which is actually a very peaceful religion, into a very, very racist and highly, I would say, the violent form of religious practices. So I think future is there for the Myanmaris to choose, but I think we can all play a very positive role.
Absolutely. So I think we should be able to now summarize our discussions with the permission of both you gentlemen, that India, Bangladesh and Myanmar, they share a golden past and I'm sure more of a golden history. If there is regional cooperation between three democratic governments, there is regional peace and regional economics operating with people to people contact across geography. That's my take on it.
Agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is a great time, and India has to take the lead, and not as a big brother, but holding hands with our neighbors, which may be smaller in size, but they're very significant. And country to country, mature relations, we have come a long way, and most of these issues will be solved, I think, in next few years. And we can look for a very, very bright future for this region. And we need to. The people of this region need to be given the economic freedom. And once you get economy, trade and commerce moving, religion, everything takes a backseat. Poverty and profit know no religion. So once people lives matter, they become well-to-do, the roads open up, we can connect to Bangladesh to northeast, and Bangladesh can trade with Nepal and Bhutan. They can export oil, gas, and even electricity can be transported to, or vice versa. I think opening up, we should be able to drive in our own cars from Calcutta to Dhaka to Chittagong to Agartala and vice versa. So
that's what BBIN motor vehicle.
Yes, that is what BBIN means. But still, it's not possible to take your car. We need to become like Europe. We are same people, and still we don't have this connectivity. I think that is where we should work, and people are stakeholders in this.
So, hoping for that, and on that note, I would like to take leave from our viewers today. It was great having you two gentlemen here on our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.